right, y'all. Yeah, it's on. That's right. This is how we do it. Welcome everybody to the show. I'm gonna do what I do and then I let you go. All I'm gonna speak is some truth, you see. But nevertheless, be in good hands with me, cause I got ya. Morning, noon, and night. God got ya. And he's gonna make everything be alright.
Welcome to TTIG, Total Trust in God. Wow. Imagine that, having total trust in God. Now, I know you can hear me, but you can't see me. And this is intentional, to communicate with you through spirit. You see, the spirit is part of the unseen, and we communicate in the spirit all the time. Most are not conscious to this type of communication and tend to go with the flow of their own physical reality, which allows what one sees to dictate one's experience. In other words, allowing your physical reality to manipulate your mental perception. Now, most people have these type of conversations, communications, not knowing who they are even communicating with. Oh, by the way, my name is Alfred Clark, better known as AC, air conditioned, always cool. Now, God tells us to test everything, every spirit, and hold on to what is good. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Now, the purpose of this program is to illuminate and bring to your attention some of the secrets in life that you may be unconscious to. You see, one may have knowledge of something, but not understand the secrets of how it works. Therefore, what one knows doesn't do any good. For example, you need to get somewhere fast. You know there's a truck right there for you, with the keys just sitting there. But you don't know how to drive a truck. Oh man. Oh well. You see, God tells us wisdom is supreme. Though it costs all you have, get understanding. Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the foundation of all things. Books, money, aircrafts, time. It's even more valuable than gold. And hey, they had a gold rush. Let's have a wisdom rush. Wisdom is understanding how to use knowledge correctly. I repeat, wisdom is understanding how to use knowledge correctly. Without understanding, there is no wisdom. Without knowledge, there is nothing known. So how does one get knowledge? By being introduced to something, like books, taking a class, or just plain old conversation. How does one get understanding? By asking a question, doing some research, or just seeking more information. You see, the level of one's understanding is determined by the level of information one knows of something. So, out of all you're getting, make sure to get understanding. And now that you know how important it is to get understanding, let's move on. Now, I would like to introduce to you something that I know if you can come to understand it, it will change the attitude of your mind. From this to this. Let's go. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 30, 19 to 20. And we will stop and break this down as we go. Now God says, I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you today. Question. Who represents as witnesses in heaven? Well, there are three that bear record in heaven: the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. And these three are one. 1 John chapter 5, 7, King James. Now, who represents as witnesses in earth? Okay, there are three that bear witness in earth: the Spirit, the water, and the blood. And these three agree in one. 1 John 5:8, King James. Now that we understand who they are, let's move on. God says that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Question. What did he set before us that represents both life and death, blessings and curse? Think about it. Circumstances and trials of many kinds is what he set before us. These things we have no control over. They just happen. Our perception of something has two influencers. Following God's instructions represents life and blessings. Following instructions of the flesh represents death and curse. It's your choice. God said, therefore, choose life, that you and your offspring may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, and holding fast to him. For he is your life and length of days, that you may dwell in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. Now there were three key instructions: choose life, obey his voice, and holding fast to him. And don't let go, just trust him. Because Jesus says, my sheep knows my voice. Now this chart represents what God had ordained, what he set before us on that day. And on that day, we were given the power to choose between life or death. Now, if you can come to understand this process, you will be so much wiser in the next choices you make. Now, let me briefly introduce the chart to you. I will start by reintroducing life, represented by God, Spirit, and Word. Also the three who bear witness in heaven. God uses his Spirit to instruct us through his Word. Now let me introduce death, the devil's goons, spirits of the flesh. This is the true enemy. Ephesians 6:12 tells us our struggle is not against flesh and blood. We have to stop fighting one another. Stop. But it's against the rulers, authorities, powers of the dark world, and the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. They have been given power to take peace from earth and make men slay each other. Revelation 6:4. They are the invisible negative influences. If you listen to them, they will kill you with a negative emotion. Want to guess who they're listening to? Now, let me introduce to you the universal realms. We have the physical realm. where our circumstances and trials are set before us. Here we have the mental realm, where the spirit and the flesh influencers battle. And then we have the spiritual realm, all truth, who corresponds to the perception of the mental and manifests into the physical as a reality. We will start with the physical realm. This is where the substance of one's hope is manifested into the physical, to what was once part of the unseen, now can be physically seen as evidence. From, hey, I want a house like this, to, hey, I now own a house. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. Now, the physical realm is also where circumstances and trials of many kinds are set before us. Accidents, injuries, recoveries, stacks of paperwork, long work hours, irritated baby, and a stressed out mom. These have come. The circumstances, the trials, that your faith, your trust in God, may be proven genuine, may be proven true. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7. So, whose voice are you listening to? The spirit or the flesh? The mental realm, source of the substance. As a man thinketh, he becomes. The spiritual battlefield, home of the great influencers, battling for your soul. But you only can choose one, life or death. Whatever choice you make will determine the outcome of the warfare and become your true perception. The spiritual realm, all truth, corresponds in harmony and agreement with the mental and the physical realm, projecting the substance of one's perception into the physical as evidence and one's life experience. So, if your life is a blank screen, remember, you are the producer and also the head of the members of your body who responds to the choices you make. Let me introduce to you the heart. Wow. In the physical, it's known to distribute blood throughout the body. But in the spiritual, the heart equals your time, plus your energy, plus your action. You see, where your time is, your energy is. Where your energy is, your actions are. They all go together. This is the real you, your spirit. Hello. Our choice is within the energy. Energy is created by our desires, emotions, feelings, impulse, and thoughts. I like to call it the deficit, which has two sides, positive deficit or negative deficit. We have the power to choose. Here's what God says about the heart. The heart is the wellspring of life. Proverbs 4:23. It's your energy. It gives the substance of the deficit life, whether positive or negative. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? Jeremiah 17:9. Come on, man. You just told her you loved her. Now you're lusting over this one? Make up your mind. God says, I, the Lord, Search the heart and test the minds to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruits of his deeds. Jeremiah 17:10. So taking care of others can reward you peace. Choosing to be a thief can reward you jail. For from within, out of man's heart, comes evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. Mark 7:21-22. And all of these are from the evil and negative Dephit. You see, God says, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it for you on the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the soul. Leviticus 17:11. You see, our souls are the breath of us, and we will soon see the process of the blood. Remember, the blood is one of the witnesses on earth. The lymphatic system, located beneath your scalp. Its members are the thalamus, known as the workstation, where the neurons and synapses transmit signals throughout the body. The hippocampus is where the short and long-term memory resides. The amygdala interprets the frequency of the Dephit and signals to the hypothalamus which hormone to put in the blood. Either dopamine, which is a happy hormone and gives life to the body, or cortisol, which is a stress hormone that kills the body, which also affects the vagus nerve. It goes from the back of your head all the way to your gut. It controls the heart. And they all interface with the autonomic nervous system, which is made up of 3 subsystems. The parasympathetic, known as the rest and digest, the heaven within you, the yoke of God, and it promotes life through the blood with dopamine. The sympathetic, known as the fight or flight, the beast within you, the yoke of the flesh, and it promotes death through the blood with cortisol. The interact, it's a quiet one. You don't hear too much about it, but it controls the hunger and the full impulse. Now that you've been introduced to the chart, let's walk through this divine process. First, it starts in the physical realm, where we are introduced to circumstances and trials of many kinds. And this is for the purpose to strengthen us, to choose spirit over flesh, right over wrong. It's a test. Whose voice are you going to choose? Second, it goes to the battlefield within the mental realm, where the spirit and the flesh battle for our souls, to influence us to perceive the circumstance their way. Third, it goes to the heart, where we have the power to choose between spirit or flesh, positive or negative Dephit. Energy is then created. It goes out simultaneously as 4 to the amygdala to interpret, and 4 to the mental realm as a perception of the substance. Then simultaneously as 5 to the hypothalamus to add the hormones to the blood, and 5 to the spiritual realm as truth. Then simultaneously as 6 to the physical realm as evidence of the substance, and 6 to the autonomic nervous system as para or sympathetic which affects 7, the vagus nerve, positively or negatively. That's the process. Now that you have been introduced to the divine process, it is up to you to get a deeper understanding. You can take any of your previous trials or circumstances and walk it through the process and see whose voice you were listening to. Like Paul said, I have learned the secret of being content in any and every circumstance. Philippians 4:11-12. God says, be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. You see, being content keeps you in the para, where there's peace and joy. Being discontent keeps you in the sympathetic, where there's pain and suffering. So remember, you have the power to choose. Choose life and be blessed.